Martins were a hardworking, ordinary family who had lived in the neighborhood for nearly 10 years. Life wasn't perfect, but they loved their community, the quiet streets, the friendly neighbors, and the sense of stability that came with owning a home. For their teenage son, Jake, this was where he had grown up, where he played basketball in the driveway, and where he learned about responsibility. Jake had just turned 17, and after months of saving from his part-time job at the local grocery store, he had finally bought his first car. It wasn't brand new or flashy, but to Jake, that old silver sedan meant everything. It represented freedom, independence, and the pride of owning something he had worked for with his own hands. That Friday night, the Martins had just returned home from a family dinner. Jake pulled into the driveway, but since his dad's truck and his mom's SUV were already parked there, he left his car in front of the house, right on the street. He thought nothing of it. After all, he'd seen neighbors park on the street before, and it was just for one night. But what Jake didn't know was that the HOA had a strict, no overnight street parking policy. One of those rules that seemed designed to make life harder, not easier. And unfortunately for the Martins, this was the type of rule that Karen, the head of the HOA, lived to enforce. Karen wasn't just strict. She was obsessive. To her, every car, every trash can, and every holiday decoration had to fit her definition of perfect. That night, while the Martins slept peacefully inside, a tow truck rolled down the street at midnight. Its engine rumbled softly as the driver stopped in front of Jake's car. Without a knock on the door or even a warning, the car was hooked up and towed away into the darkness. The next morning, Jake woke up excited to take his car for a drive with his friends. But when he stepped outside, his heart stopped. The spot where he had parked was empty. He ran back inside shouting, "Mom! Dad! My car's gone!" The Martins rushed outside, confused and panicked, thinking it had been stolen. But then, on the door, they noticed a bright orange paper, a violation notice from the HOA. It stated that Jake's car had been towed for violating the no overnight parking rule, and in order to get it back, they would need to pay nearly $500 in towing fees and HOA fines. Jake's face turned pale. That car wasn't just metal and wheels. It was his pride. He had spent months saving, working long shifts after school, and now it was gone in a single night. His mom hugged him, furious at the HOA. His dad stormed inside, calling the HOA office. And when Karen answered, she didn't sound the least bit sorry. Her voice was cold, almost smug. "Rules are rules, Mr. Martin. If we let one car stay overnight, the whole street will turn into a junkyard." The Martins were stunned at her lack of empathy. This wasn't about a junkyard. It was about a hard-working kid's first car, taken away without so much as a warning. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. One by one, other families came forward with their own stories. A neighbor down the street said his car had been towed 2 months earlier while he was visiting his elderly mother in the hospital. Another woman admitted she was fined $300 because her college-age daughter had parked overnight during Thanksgiving break. It became clear this wasn't just about the Martins. The HOA had been quietly abusing its power for years, making money off residents through unfair fines and predatory towing. The Martins decided they couldn't stay quiet. That evening, they knocked on doors and gathered signatures for a petition. Dozens of neighbors signed, eager to put an end to the tyranny of late-night tows. With the petition in hand, the Martins called for a special HOA meeting. The night of the meeting, the room was packed. Dozens of residents filled the chairs, standing shoulder to shoulder, their voices buzzing with frustration. Karen sat at the front with her clipboard, clearly not expecting such a turnout. As the Martins took the floor, they shared Jake's story in detail. The boy spoke about how much his car meant to him, how hard he had worked, and how devastated he felt when it was taken away. His voice cracked as he said, "It feels like I was robbed, not by a stranger, but by my own community." The room erupted in applause. Neighbors shouted in agreement, demanding the rules be changed. Some even held up their own violation letters as proof of the HOA's overreach. Karen tried to regain control, insisting that strict rules were necessary to keep the neighborhood orderly. But by then, the tide had turned against her. Local media had caught wind of the story too. A reporter stood in the back, filming the meeting as angry residents confronted the HOA board. Within days, the story was on the evening news. Asterisk neighborhood families fight back against HOA towing policies. Asterisk the coverage brought even more pressure. People from other neighborhoods shared similar experiences online, and soon the HOA was facing a wave of public backlash. Finally, under pressure, the HOA relented. They agreed to amend the rule, allowing overnight parking with permits for residents and their guests. They also voted to reimburse families who had been unfairly fined or towed. For Jake, it meant getting his car back without losing the money he had worked so hard to earn. That night, the Martins and their neighbors gathered in front of their homes, a sense of relief washing over them. Jake stood proudly by his car, smiling for the first time in days. What had started as one family's nightmare had become a victory for the entire community. And in the end, the Martins had proven something powerful. That when neighbors come together and stand against injustice, even the toughest HOA rules can be overturned.